Okay, so this is going to be what I like to call a micro lecture. And this is just going to be a little mini lecture on about 4 slides that relate to the Consumer Price Index. So hopefully you guys have read through your text in the business cycles chapter within your e-text and kind of watch those videos and work through your adaptive learning assignment. But I want to go and look at an example of calculating the inflation rate based on the Consumer Price Index in a little bit more detail, just because I think this can be kind of a confusing topic. So I want to make sure you guys get a little bit more information. Specifically, the Consumer Price Index is an index that economists use to measure prices within an economy. So we're looking at a macroeconomic perspective. We want to see within a full economy, what is the value of a standard basket of goods? The Consumer Price Index is broken into a lot of different categories. One of the most common ones would be like a household basket of goods. It might include like food and toiletries and just kind of standard things that you buy at the grocery store that you need to kind of get by day to day. There are economists that work for the Bureau of Labor Statistics that go across the nation, region by region, and they look at different prices in the grocery stores and they compare and they come up with these kind of like averages that they can calculate a consumer price index. And it kind of helps us, the whole purpose of creating this index or this value for the standard value for goods is so that we can measure how prices are changing within the economy so that we get an idea of how inflation may or may not be impacting us so that we can take that knowledge and respond from an economics perspective. So that's what the Consumer Price Index, it's measured with a calculation of a value of a basket of goods in year T, so whatever given year we're looking at, over that same value of the basket of goods in a base year times 100. So let's look at an example. I think this will make more sense when we kind of break it down. So here's our example. We have in this economy, we have just 2 goods. This is a really simplified example so that we don't get too overwhelmed here. In our economy, the only 2 goods that we need to live are pizza and milk. So we have year 1, 2, and 3. The quantity of pizza that's being produced, the price it's being sold at, and then same for milk, the quantity that's being produced in years 1, 2, and 3, and the prices they're being sold. So the first thing we need to do when we're going to calculate CPI is we need to figure out what the value of our basket of goods are. So we'll start from year to year. In year 1, we are selling 3 pizzas at $5 a pizza and 2 gallons of milk at $4 a gallon. So the value of pizza in year 1 is going to be $15. The value of milk in year 1 is going to be $8. So our total basket value for year 1 is the value of our 2 goods, 15 plus 8, which is 23. In year 2, we're selling the same amount of pizza, but now we're charging $6, so the value is 18. In year 2, milk, we're still selling 2 gallons. Now we're charging $6 per gallon. So the value of milk in year 2 is $12, which means that our total basket value in year 2 is going to be $30. In year 3, prices continue to go up. The value of pizza is $21. The value of milk is $16. So the value of our basket is $37. So now the question is, how do we calculate the CPI for our economy? The CPI is calculated based on the value of a market basket of goods in year T, divided by the value in the base year times 100. In year 1, year T is the base year. So 23, let's come over here, 23 divided by 23 times 100 is 100. In the first year, CPI is always going to be 100. Just put that to memory. It's always going to come out as 100 in year one because that's our base year. In year two, the calculation becomes $30 year T divided by $23, our base year, times 100. So our CPI in year two is 130.43. In year three, our basket value is 37, and our base year basket value is 23 times 100. So our CPI in year three is 160.86. So now if we go on to the next slide, how do we calculate inflation based on this? Well, inflation is basically, it's going to be a rate change calculation based on the CPI. So the inflation rate in year T, or in a given year, is going to be the CPI, the value of CPI in that year, minus the value of CPI the year before, divided by CPI from the year before, times 100. So in year one, it's not applicable. This is our base year. There's no year before. In year two, the calculation becomes 130.43. That's our CPI, minus last year's CPI, which is 100, divided by 100 times 100. So it's 30.43%. In year three, our calculation becomes 160.87, this year's CPI, minus last year's CPI, 130.43, divided by last year's CPI, 130.43, times 100. So our inflation rate in year three is 23.34%. Now, why does this matter to you? So inflation, the problem with inflation is that it devalues our dollar. So what I could get last year, we all know that gas prices are going up. Last year, I could spend $3.50 to get a gallon of gas. This year, $3.50 won't even get me a full gallon. So the value of my $3.50 has gone down because the price of my good has increased. So I can purchase less with the same amount of money that I have this year. So the measuring inflation and calculating the CPI matters because it can show us what our purchasing power is. So we have nominal versus real income. Your nominal income is going to be the dollar, your dollar amount of your salary. So in today's world, I earn $40,000. That's today's value of my dollar. That's my salary. Next year, I get a raise, $41,500 is my new salary. That's my nominal salary. But the real income is going to adjust your nominal income to show what your purchasing power is. Basically, how many, if last year I could purchase X amount of goods, how many of those goods can I purchase this year? If my income is rising, but inflation is rising at a higher rate than my income, then my purchasing power will go down because the price of goods is rising faster than my salary. So let's look at an example. Going back to the CPI that we calculated before, we've got in hundreds, 1, 1.3, 1.6. So this is just going back to that 130, 160. We're dividing it by 100 to get 1.3, 1.6. Let's say I'm a newly graduated student and I get a job and I make $40,000. Well, and this being my base year, $40,000, I would calculate my real income by dividing my nominal salary, my nominal income, by the CPI, Consumer Price Index in hundreds. So this being the base year, this is the CPI was 1. So my real income is $40,000. But next year I get a raise and it's a $1,500 raise. My new salary is $4,100. $41,500. But I know that prices are rising in my country and inflation's kind of going crazy. The CPI index was 130. So if I divide my new salary by the CPI that we calculated in hundreds, so over here we'll do 41,500 divided by 1.3. My real income is 31,923. Now, why is that? We saw that inflation, what was inflation on the last slide? Inflation in year 2 was 30.43%. I got a raise of $1,500. So 1,500 divided by 40, I got a 3.37 raise. My raise was a lower, my rate of increase of my income was lower than the rate of inflation, the increasing rate of inflation. So inflation was 30%, my raise was 3%. So because prices of goods are increasing so quickly, I'm actually not able to purchase as many goods this year in year 2 as I could last year in year 1 because of the inflation. So let's look at year 3. Let's say I get another raise. I get my new salary is 45,000. So that's like a 3,500 raise divided by 41,500. I got like an 8% raise this year. That's really exciting. Well, what's going to happen to my purchasing power? Well, we know that inflation was still rising by like 23%. So if I were to divide my new salary by that CPI that we calculated in hundreds, we can see that my real income or my adjusted income for inflation has actually continued to go down. So the inflation rates that we're calculating here are really high, 30%, 23%. Hopefully we don't see inflation like that in this country anytime soon. But this is why it matters to you that you know how to look at the consumer price index, that you know how to think about inflation, because it affects your ability to purchase goods and services with your income.